All right, guys, today's video is all about how to set up to the golf ball with a driver versus an iron. Very, very different. I've had a lot of questions and comments about this particular subject. But before we get started, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Every time I send out a new video, you'll get a notification. So let's talk about this for a minute. The driver, very, very important to understand. The objective with the driver here is obviously to try and create as much speed as we can. We want to create some control, but distance really is ultimately what we're looking for. In order to get more distance, we've got to make sure that we reduce the amount of spin on the golf ball. Very, very important. So most golfers are getting out in front of it too early with the driver. They're hitting down on the golf ball. That creates a ton of side spin. You slicers out there are going to be very, very familiar with this. So what we've got to make sure we do here is we've got to make sure we set up in a way that allows us to hit up on the golf ball. We want to be ascending. Very, very important to understand that, okay? The only way you're going to be ascending is if you set up with the golf ball further forward. So we've got to play the ball off the instep of the left foot. Got to make sure you have a nice stable base. Get yourself nice and wide. I like to actually feel a little bit of tilt to the right here. So a lot of the time I'll take my fingers and I'll just pop them down the right side of my knee here and just get a little bit of tilt so you feel like you're looking at the back of the golf ball. You can see if I do that, my sternum is at least 6 inches behind the golf ball, and that's where the bottom of my arc is. So the bottom of my arc is 6 inches behind the golf ball. By the time the club's traveling to the golf ball, it's on the way up, and that's what I'm looking for. So here's my driver setup. Ball forward, get a little wider, right hand down towards the right knee. You can see here, set way, way behind the golf ball here. Nice wide stance, okay? Very, very important to understand. Now you're going to set up the same way with a 3-wood off a tee, okay? Anytime the ball's on the ground, we're going to change that ball position a little bit, but it's very, very important to understand that the golf ball needs to be hit on the upswing. Guys, let's talk about irons. Very, very different. When we're hitting an iron, we want to hit down on the golf ball. We want to take a little divot out in front of it. We want to compress it. We want to squeeze it. We want to hit it solid. We don't want to hit fat. We don't want to hit it thin, okay? Important to understand, in order to do that, our sternum needs to be on top of the golf ball. We can't have it tilted to the right. That puts the bottom of the arc too far behind us, which of course ideal for a driver that the ball's on a tee, but not ideal when the ball's on the ground. So how do we optimize our ability to be able to go ahead and compress the golf ball? Very straightforward. I'm going to keep this pretty simple today. I'm going to break the irons down into 3 groups: short irons, middle irons, and your longer irons, and even fairway woods, okay? So we've got sand wedge, pitching wedge, 9-iron, and 8-iron. That's your short irons. Let's go ahead and start there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ball right in the center of my stance, equal and opposite step on both sides of the golf ball. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to favor my lead leg by about 10%. I want to favor the lead leg because I want to make sure I'm on top of it and my body's a little bit more out in front of the golf ball. So that's what I do with my short iron. So I put my feet together, equal and opposite step. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to favor my lead leg just by a small percent, maybe 10%. So I'm front loading, guys, is what I'm really doing. We don't need a lot of movement off the golf ball here. If I'm going to hit a middle iron, I go through exactly the same process. I've got a 7-iron in my hands here. So I'm going to put it in the center of my stance exactly the same way. I'm going to take a baby step to the right, 1 foot width to the right, and I'm in good shape now. That's effectively put the ball a little bit further forward. When I'm hitting a middle iron, instead of favoring my lead leg by 10%, you guessed it, I'm going to have my weight in the middle, which is where we want it, okay? So now I'm set up for a middle iron. Very, very different to the short iron. If I'm going to hit a longer iron, I do exactly the same thing. I go through my routine, take an equal and opposite step. I'm going to take 1 step, 2 steps. That's all it is, okay? So we've taken 2 steps, and then my weight's going to favor my trail leg by maybe 5 or 10%. So that's setting me a little bit more behind the golf ball. But you notice the ball isn't opposite my instep. It is not the same as a driver. So this is where I might hit my 4 crossover or my 5 wood. Okay, it's an ideal position because I'm still going to be able to get on top of the golf ball. I'm still going to be able to compress it a little bit. So let's go through that one more time, okay? Equal and opposite. That's your short iron. Baby step to the right. That's your middle iron. Baby step again. That's your long irons, okay? 4-3 crossover, 4-3 hybrid, or fairway woods, okay? We want to make sure that our weight is essentially moving in that direction. As we get wider, we simply move our weight in the same direction. That helps us shallow out the bottom of our arc. We're going to be a little steeper with the shorter irons, and we're going to graduate into a shallower orbit. as we get a little bit wider with the longer irons. It makes sense, right? Less loft, a more shallow approach is ideal. More loft, maybe just a little bit more vertical approach, okay? So that is the iron setup. The most important thing is ball position, in my opinion, and weight distribution, which we just discussed. If you get those two things right, you're going to do really well with your irons, all right? Let's go ahead and hit one. All right, nice little divot out in front of the golf ball. Exactly what I was looking for. Get after it, guys. Remember the difference between driver and irons is definitely not the same, okay? Good luck.